welcome back. So we're going to talk about our cart and checkout compositions that we've created based off of some of the components that we've created in the past and recipes that we've created. So you may notice that we have our cart here, and what I've done with our cart is I've made it really simple. I've used it as just an overlay. Now I have just my header. Now this is a component that I've created, but I actually didn't use the component in this instance. We can use that because I just pulled this because I had a previous design of cart where I took up the whole page, and I thought that wasn't necessary. And I thought, better implementation of cart would be to actually have it just pop up from the bottom as an overlay, and to keep that really simple and small, not have that take up too much of the screen. Because if we think about cart in general, when we buy stuff off of like different types of marketplace websites, we don't necessarily buy like 10 things at once. I mean, that's a rare occurrence. Maybe if you're shopping for a whole day or something like that. But generally you buy like maybe 1 or 2 things, maybe 3 things at once. And what I wanted to do is I want to make that very simple in terms of the experience. I want them to, press that cart button, see this pop up. They can add to it really easily. I have these 2 variations here. Like I said, when you were starting to build out the design a bit more, we have to start thinking about all those different types of scenarios. We also think about the scenarios in the beginning as well when we're building out like sitemaps, when we're sketching still, when we're, building out user flows. The thing is, user flows and sketching, that kind of thing is going to just happen throughout the entire design process. So don't worry about, forgetting something in the past, because new features will come. New problems will need to be solved, and you'll need to kind of go back to the drawing board, quite literally, share those with your team or your stakeholders like clients, and come to some sort of solution. So this is my solution for cart, and I've used the same type of recipe that we created back in our design system, which was like our cart list. And I have the different cart components. So you'll notice that this is not a component. This is the default component over here. That is just because of when I was using it within a prototype. So if I go to actually update this, like all I need to do is copy that. I can bring that down the list. I can remove that one now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to Command C. And I think I have this priced at $75.99. And you can just easily update it like that. Perfect. So there you go. Now we have a component. We can even have that reflected in here. Let's push that all the way up. Let's get rid of the one that isn't a component. And there you go. Everything's kind of back to normal now. Now, like I said, I have 2 variations here. I have a variation where we have the cart when the user first pulls it up, and then I have a variation where we have a cart where somebody swipes. And I just want to show that because when you're working closely with developers, they want to see all these differences of interactions. And we'll get into prototypes later, but they want to see the different types of use cases we have for different types of modals, overlays, or just compositions in general. So at the bottom, I've decided to kind of go with just showing off the total. Like I said, we haven't seen this all caps version yet as typographic elements, but we've seen them in the pill. So I found maybe a double use case for this. So I may create another style just to have for something like this. I have the checkout button with an arrow, trying to create a little bit of FOMO, which is fear of missing out, or I'm just trying to create some sort of urgency, come on, let's go in this direction. So when this happens, we're going to push them to a new page, which is the checkout. So they've already reviewed their cart at this point. And in checkout, what we want to just kind of focus on is, do you have the right type of payment method? You'll notice that I'm using the same card that we've created in the cart section. So if we kind of go back to our design system, we'll take a look there. Let's go back to cards. You'll see that we've created a Bank of America card. Just something small that we can kind of change on. If you want to add a new bank, you can do that. What I've done is I've just created a standard card that kind of fits our brand, but I've also just kind of slapped the name on there. I've also kind of slapped a MasterCard logo, and you can do that too. It's there for you to kind of go ahead and edit. Now I have that. I've also added a carousel at the bottom. So if users want to swipe through cards. Maybe we have multiples. There's a cool interaction to be had right there. We want to make this really nice, really exciting, even through the checkout process, because if we take a look at all the different types of checkout processes that we've participated in, a lot of them are really boring. We don't even read anything. We are just kind of like, yeah, whatever, pay. But if we do need to change credit cards, that kind of stuff becomes a little bit more less exciting. They also, sometimes the experience there is not nice. So we want to make sure that these cards are right up in the user's face. They're very familiar for the user, so they can understand that, oh yes, this is my Visa or my MasterCard that I've put into this application, so I can see that very vividly over here. I can swipe it if I need to add another one, or if I need to use another one. I also have the important shipping information right up front, I know where this is getting shipped to. Below, I've also added a very small section for adding a promo code, making that very simple. It has a CTA, a bright yellow button, but I mean, it's not necessarily the primary thing users need to do here. But I've kept it there just so it will reflect in the total price right away, and users can see that connection between here and here. But like I said before, I'm using my placeholder unselected button. And if we want to show this interaction in more detail, we would create another screen and have a selected input as well. And I'll show you what that looks like later. I have my apply button over here, which is just kind of my primary button. That is a default. And then I have my delivery fee. I have the order total, and at the bottom I'm using our footer. And I've noticed that I'm starting to use a footer very much like I'm using a header within the application, and I thought, maybe this footer becomes an actual component now. So I may actually go back and create a footer component section where I add this, and I maybe add different variations like you've seen in the cart, where there's a footer, where there's a button and text. Over here we have just kind of the primary button. You'll see it also in product pages as well. And once that happens, this is the exciting part. We have a confetti pop at the end, just showering down on our users. Oh, you placed your order. And what would happen here is just a continue button would pop up and they would just go back to the home page. But we want to kind of make it a little exciting. Right now, a lot of applications don't make it exciting when you do something really well. And this is kind of goes back to what we talked about with motion and animation. It's okay to create these screens and reward your users in a way. They kind of love that kind of stuff, and we want to make sure that it's reflected in our designs. Gives our product a little bit more personality, especially with the bright colors. Just the animation of the confetti flying down whenever you actually complete an order, you do something successful. So I wanted to reflect that also in the designs over here. And I've noticed that, okay, well, I have a confetti frame, and I may actually have to make this into an animation with Figmotion or another type of application like Principle or something like that, or After Effects. So I'll just create this, and I may actually put this in our assets within our components in our design system if I want to reuse this elsewhere. Because we do reuse this screen a couple of times. Yeah, you'll just realize that, okay, then this is some sort of reusable component or animation that we can kind of keep to the side and reuse whenever we want to. And again, we have a footer content here. It's a little different this time. It's still a fixed footer. As you can tell, it's fixed position over here, but it's now a primary button, and it doesn't have a thin horizontal rule that we see at the top of this, that little gray line. So there are different variations to be had for those components, and we'll probably go back and actually create more components based off of all the different variations we come up with. So it's okay to start creating high fidelity mockups without, components and stuff like that. Totally fine. That's actually normal. When you start kind of adding components to your designs and stuff like that, you'll start to realize, hey, this is starting to come together. It's really neat. Everything is in its own place. But I'm finding that, I don't have enough flexibility, so I have to go back and think about, maybe some more typographic elements and stuff like that, or more recipes that can help, bring this all together a bit more. And that's it for cart and checkout.